You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and as a prompt for our conversation on placing value on the teaching profession, here's a background report by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
A local adage says the reward of a teacher is not here on earth, but in heaven. These depict the unquantifiable and unqualifiable efforts of a teacher in grooming the child and the moral value nurtured into the society. The teacher's role in value inculcation is immense as they treat students as unique humans as they try to understand the learner's starting point, thoughts and opinions aside handling matters linked to the learner's personality and privacy. Teaching values and ethics contribute to a positive classroom culture by fostering respect, empathy and cooperation among students even when their parents fail. It helps create a supportive environment where everyone feels valued and understood, enhancing learning and personal growth. A teacher sets a standard of moral behaviors for the child. The school plays a very important role in the moral values of the child through the organization of various curricula and co-curricular activities. And teachers can foster among children various moral qualities. It has been stressed again and again that nothing can be more helpful in molding the child's moral behavior than the teacher's own conduct. The teacher is expected to function not only as facilitator for acquisition of knowledge, but also as inculcator of values and transformer of inner being, especially in the world of today, where vices are perceived good, while good morals are seen as archaic. In the teaching of different subjects like languages and social studies, etc., teachers may stress moral qualities like love, sacrifice, self-control, faithfulness, truthfulness, uprightness, etc., and provide many opportunities for an appeal to the moral sense of the students. However, on its part, the Nigerian government launched several initiatives aimed at improving the quality of education in the country. One of the most significant initiatives is the Universal Basic Education Program, which aims to provide free and compulsory education to every child in Nigeria. Things introduced that directly impact the teachers include extension of retirement from 35 to 40 years in service and 60 to 65 years of age. There was also talk about a new salary scheme for teachers, but it is yet to be implemented. Aside better enumeration for teachers to boost their performance. But are values indeed placed on the teaching profession? But are values indeed placed on the teaching profession in this part of the world? What can or should be done to boost the morale of professional teachers in the country? Our guests, already seated, will be answering these questions and more shortly.
Thank you very much, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for that background report. And we already have our guest in the studio going to speak on the topic placing value on teaching profession in the country. We have joining us via Zoom is from Germany, Professor Tai Maman, SAN, is the Honorable Minister of Education. Professor Maman, thank you very much for joining us on this Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. And I am here right in Nigeria, in Abuja, not Germany. I've come back.
You're welcome back. We thought you were still in Germany. You're welcome back, Honorable Minister. Good to have you back in Nigeria. All right. Also in Enugu is Professor Ndubueze Mba, is the Commissioner for Education, Enugu State. Dr. Mba, you're welcome. Professor Mba, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. So Professor Mba, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. So Professor Mba, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
You also have from Lokoja.
Wemi Jones, FCIB Commissioner for Education, Kogi State. Wemi Jones, you're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
And here in our studio, we have Chief Sylvester Onoja, former Commissioner for Education, Kogi State, and former Chairman, Kogi State Teaching Service Commission, and former Principal, King's College, Lagos. It's a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you join us.
Thank you.
And we also have here in the studio Dr. Clinton Ipetibo. He is the Director, Administration and Staff Training, Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT Head Office in Abuja. You're welcome to Good Morning.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Great.
All right, gentlemen, let's kickstart our conversation this morning. Let's start with the Honorable Minister, who is back in Nigeria. Honorable Minister, you're welcome once again to back to the country. We're talking about the Teachers' Day that was celebrated over the weekend, and we want to find out, what does it mean to you, and how do you think the teachers in Nigeria should be celebrated?
Thank you once more. For me, it's actually a reminder of our responsibilities to this very noble profession. It also reminds me of how important this profession is, and it reminds me of what we need to do further to bring back the glory of this very important profession. You may recall, some of us who have been around for some time, that the teaching profession, as clearly stated in the background of your report, is at the heart of the civilization of human beings. Generally, it is at the heart of our progress, and if we need to get it right to ensure development. And as Mandela also said, it is the most powerful tool. Education is the most powerful tool in the hands of a person. And all this can only be achieved through teachers who serve those roles which you have mentioned in your background. They provide the necessary materials for the education of the young ones from pre-primary right through the university and beyond. They serve as the moral compass of the society. And in general, what teachers give to those who go through school are knowledge, skills, and values. Now, all these things can only be achieved when these teachers themselves are properly developed, they are properly catered for, they are properly educated, and they are properly motivated and properly provided for. We said teachers' reward is in heaven. Yes, the assumption really behind that is that we cannot compensate them, through material provisions. What they give to us as humanity cannot be compensated. And but at the same time, they are with us here on earth, so they have a life to live. They need to be redeveloped. They need to be developed and redeveloped. And so all these are responsibilities which society owe to them, in the same way that they now have to provide for society to enhance its own development and the development of society. That's what it means. Now, coming home, for us in the Ministry of Education, our responsibility to teachers is very clear. It's clearly stated in our policy of DOTS. The T part of the DOTS is the teachers' support and development. We made quite a number of policies on ground. Some have been implemented, some have not been implemented. Part of the reason I suspect why it has not been implemented is absence of enabling legislation. And maybe over time too, part of lack of political will. Now, this government is bringing the two on board. Our president has stated very clearly his commitment to education and his commitment to supporting teachers, as restated by the Secretary of the Government of the Federation at that ceremony. And he has also stated very clearly to me when I sought his prior approval to review the teachers, the policies on teacher support and development, which we are doing now. We have a committee on ground to review current policies for us to look at those that are strong, those that are being implemented, and why those that are not being implemented are not being implemented, and strengthen it. The teachers we need today and must be better and more trained and more supported than what we had in the past. And there's a lot of dynamism in current situation of the world and humanity. So our teachers need to be supported in terms of their knowledge. And so that's what we are trying to do. And we are also putting in place a new program for the country, new transformative program for the country that requires skills infused in our entire education system at the tertiary education, in particular, skills and entrepreneurship. So we need a new set of teachers. We need our teachers to be further retrained. So that's what we are trying to do. And it is our expectation and hope that this committee, which has the ministry, is actually cross-cutting in its membership, including the UNESCO, will turn in its report in the by December. That's the deadline they have. It's supposed to have been this October, but because of the enormity of the work and far-reaching nature, they are submitting their report, which will now go to Mr. President and FEC for approval and for implementation. The new curriculum which we are adopting this week, the National Council of Education is adopting this week, will be set for implementation from this October. So it is expected that the teachers will be further trained and retrained to implement this curriculum. And we've already started a form of training anyway for teachers through the smart schools we have all over the country, especially in Abuja here, the Digital Resource Center, where we are using to train and retrain our teachers in content, use of technology in all our schools. So this and a whole range of other programs that we are, what we have on ground at the moment. So as I said, a lot of teachers have to assume a frontline position in our administration, in our everyday life, because we cannot ensure our future if we have a teacher who are not poorly supported, or who are not well motivated. These we are set to change. Thank you. This is what I have for now.
Okay, Honorable Minister, thank you so much. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. But now let's bring in the Professor Nduo Buize Mba. He's the Commissioner for Education in Enugu State. Most people say that the first value of education has sort of been eroded because of losing the gatekeeping value of teaching in Nigeria. In the case that most people who really want to join the teaching profession as a career don't usually get in, and those who are just sitting around, linked to politicians, looking for job, are now given this teaching job. Professionalism has been thrown out of the window, and the state government and local government are in charge of primary and secondary education, which is really at the lowest point in this country now. And we also thank God that the local government autonomy is in place. But do you think there's the willpower to ensure that the teacher, the value of the teacher, is restored in this country now?
There is, I think, across the nation, a renewed appreciation that teachers are not just service providers, they're not just civil servants, that they are professionals. And that they are, when we think about the school system, we might think about the building as infrastructure. But I think there is an increasing appreciation that the greatest infrastructure for our educational system are teachers themselves. Now, when we look at, but for many of us who are in the field trying to implement education reform, we keep running up against a major challenge. And that challenge is that there is a gulf between the new aspirations for education and the capacity of existing teachers to deliver those aspirations. When we look at the National Teacher Education Policy, the NTEP, for example, it does not make very clear the basic requirements for admitting students into colleges of education. There seems to be a practice everywhere where when people write JAMB, when children write JAMB, and they cannot get into the courses that they would desire, then they fall back at last minute to colleges of education. The standard of admission is very low compared to other disciplines. So that is where that's one of the places where the challenges begin. It continues to through the level of investment in teacher professional development, in preparing these students to become teachers, in providing them with the type of teaching experience that will enable them to be successful teachers in the classroom. And then when they become teachers, the remuneration for teachers are not encouraging. There is the survey we did, for example, showed that in over 9 years, 70 to 80% of teachers had not received professional development in service training. So the model had been that you train a few people and then they step it down, but that is not working. So there has to be a disruption of the cycle of underdevelopment of our teachers. If there is a serious commitment to teacher professional development, we will radically and quickly turn around our education system. I say this because I have witnessed it in Enugu. Our governor, Barrister Dr. Peter Ndubuisimba, has dedicated so much, not just to education infrastructure development, but to teacher professional development. We are doing continuous assessment, computer-based tests, and other modes of assessment of our teachers, identifying areas of needs, investing in their professional development. And we're seeing, major transformation in learning outcomes. And when we think about the cost of building one school and compare that to the cost of training 4,000 teachers, it almost matches up. But the former is often valued above the latter. But the latter is actually the thing that makes the difference, the most difference in the education of our children. World Teachers Day is a day to appreciate our teachers, but it's also a day for leaders to look inwards and to invest in the human development of our teachers. The kind of students that we want to produce now, they are children who have to be able to compete with their global peers, be ready for the fourth industrial revolution. If we truly appreciate the fact that Nigeria as a country would produce majority of the global youth by 2050, and if we don't capacitate that youth to be job ready for the world to come, that we're going to have a major crisis on our hands. If we appreciate that fact, then we have to invest enormously, not just in teacher professional development, in teacher welfare, but in professionalizing teaching, in valuing the way that our teachers are trained. And this has to be a national program, not a regional one, and not just a state one. It has to come all the way from the top. So we're looking forward to the conversations we're going to have in Abuja at the NCE. I know that many of my colleagues and the Honorable Minister for Education share these values. And I am more convinced now than ever before that there is enormous hope for teacher professional transformation in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mba. There is enormous hope for teachers' transformation in the country. You have spoken about the need for us to develop the human capital in the teaching profession. And I know that the guests in the studio are really itching to actually contribute to this conversation. So let me come to Chief Onoja, because I know you have been there right from the beginning. You've been the principal, you've been the commissioner for education, you've seen it all. Just tell us, what is the teaching profession like in Nigeria compared to what it was before now?
Well, thank you very much indeed. It's good to be here again and then to talk about education. I also, my distinguished members of this panel, particularly the Honorable Minister of Education, he means well for education, absolutely. The problem of education, and when we talk about the future of education, we should be talking about the lack of education. Unfortunately, education has declined to its lowest ebb. Politics has done so much damage to education. And you know politicians, they are temporary people, but they cause permanent damage. And permanent damage has been caused to education. And I won't go far. We talk about the future. Education is the future. Education is the key to development. There's nothing else. What is the future of Nigerian education and the future of Nigerian teachers? Look at the JAMB intake for this year. The cutoff mark for those who want to go to teacher training institution is 100. And it is 100 over 400. In percentage terms, that's 25%. Are the right people going
To the teaching
to be
profession.
teachers? The idea of teachers is that those who know are supposed to teach those who ought to know. Today, we have teachers who do not know, and they are going to teach people those who ought to know. Education, we are moving towards digital education. A teacher is struggling to send a text message on his phone. His student is on the internet. Today, the students are more exposed than the teachers. There's no future. There's so much to celebrate. And I know, again, I want to go back to the Honorable Minister of Education. He's totally committed to education. But so much damage has been done before he came in. And we need to go back. How can the worst of society go into teaching? It didn't start only now. It was in 1975 when the policy on education, the UPE, came. All manners of people went into teaching. Those who have no business with education. Originally, you said teaching is a vocation, it is a calling. I went into teaching when it was a vocation. And for a lot of people, it should at least provide, welfare. You should be able to feed yourself as a teacher and all that. And what happened to the Nigerian teacher actually, it was only during the Civil War when it started in 1967. By 1968, the only set of workers that were not paid their salaries were teachers. They were the ones that were owed salaries. And the teacher, who was an honorable member of the society, went to buy foodstuff and all sorts of things he couldn't pay. The respect of the teachers had gone down. A lot of the teachers at that time went into the Army Education Corps. And the respect of the teachers has gone down. But what the teacher has and goes for him is knowledge. The teacher should be sufficiently informed. He's the custodian of knowledge in a classroom situation. Today he's been denied that. Politics has taken so much out of education. The quality of teachers is in question. And you talk about teachers' reward. Yes, it's good to be. Teachers' reward actually is in heaven, can be nowhere. All that Nigerian teachers are asking for is a traveling allowance to go to heaven. Those allowances are not being paid. And the kind of allowances that the teachers need to go to heaven is the little salaries you earn. They come as, enough to take care of your immediate needs and all that. But the most important thing that I see, and I think the Honorable Minister of Education and all commissioners of education should look at that, the quality of people that are going to teacher training institutions will affect the future of education. You cannot say that if you have 25% in an examination, you are good enough to go to a teacher training institution. I am much more concerned about the future of teachers. The teachers, we have a Nigerian elite that is most ungrateful. The teachers who catered for them, provided for them and all that are forgotten. You go to all parts of the world and other parts of the world and you see how teachers are treated. But here, teachers are not being treated fairly. And that has been for a long time. I experienced it. So I have lived my life as a teacher for more than half a century, and I know how it has come.
And you're still contributing to teaching profession up to now, because you gave us some quite some interesting information. Let's bring in Dr. Ipitibo into the conversation. This year, the theme sort of stirs the sort of emotions in me, say, valuing teachers' voices. Should it be so? Should we still be talking about it in this decade, at this time, in the history of the nation?
Yeah, thank you very much. So you're talking about the World Teachers' Day, and starting from that point, we are all aware World Teachers' Day has to do with the global community celebrating the pivotal role teachers play in society. And in doing that, the very day, 5th of October, that has been designated for this program, is an avenue for the world to celebrate, at the same time to also address issues of concern to teachers. This year, UNESCO, Education International, and other global partners that have been at the forefront of the organization of World Teachers' Day come up with this very theme that we're talking about, valuing teacher voices towards a social education contract.
Yes.
And to start from that point, it is very, very apt. Very apt in the sense that just like many other of the discussants here have said, teachers have not been given their due place in society. Everyone knows. You can be a doctor, a medical doctor, a lawyer, accountant. The foundation, you pass through the tutelage of a teacher. And that is why in NTA we used to say that teaching is the mother of all professions. But are the teachers so valued? That's the essence. Now, sometimes we look at the situations around teaching or the teaching profession as such that teachers are mere implementers of education policies and programs, whereas they ought to be on the table, the decision-making table, of matters concerning education in its entirety. Talk about formulation of policies, because they are having first-hand information with the pupils or the educational system, the school community. They know what is needed and what is not needed. They are professionals. And so they ought to be on that decision-making table to be at the forefront to decide what and what should be done. But here we are. Only not too long ago, my minister, Honorable Minister, so respected amiable minister, was talking about a lot of things that they are trying to push to the National Council on Education for approval and the rest of that. The question is, how many teachers were actually on that table in deciding the way forward for education? That is what we are missing. The teacher's voice, as it has been so stated clearly by the theme of the World Teachers' Day of this year, the teacher's voice must be heard, must be taken very seriously. And let me say that I want to even counter that idea of my own brother here, my senior brother, saying that the children we have today are more knowledgeable than the teachers of. Well, it is debatable, but let me say that that is not the situation on ground. The most important thing that we need to talk about is that you do not find teachers only in Abuja, Lagos, or Port Harcourt. Teachers constitute that cream of professionals that are found in all nooks and crannies of the country. You can hardly go to any village that you don't find a teacher. And the conditions under which they are working, the sacrificial services they are rendering for humanity and the state, nation building, is so enormous that they need to be accorded due respect. And what is due them in society, that is what is lacking, the recognition, the respect, the fact that these are our parents, the beginning of our own journey, outside the immediate family. If not of a teacher, I will not be able to write my name. If not of a teacher, I will not be able to read. If we can grow that mentality in us and give that due respect to the teachers, I think we can make a headway. Let me say, it's not only about money. Issues of incentives, motivation to the teacher is not only about money. Some of us pass through this system before we come to the level of administration. I can give myself as an example. When I picked up a job as a teacher in a secondary school in one of the states down south, we were not paid for 4 months. It was the local community. But what was so encouraging and motivating to us was that the village that we started working, we were like kings. We do not care about the fact that the body was not there at the moment. Teachers were waiting for, one teacher would be waiting for the next to go into the classroom. We are quarreling. You are taking my time. Please do let me go in. That is what we are talking about. What is the teacher to the Nigerian population or society? Means a lot. So the theme of World Teachers Day this year is so apt that teachers can never continue to remain there as mere implementers of education policies, but they should be involved in the decision making, be on that table to decide. They know better if we are talking about a profession. And I must tell you, NUT is so serious about professionalization. And that's why we've been working hand in glove with the TROCN, the Teacher Restoration Council of Nigeria. Just like every other professionals, we do not want quacks to be in our system. We want to make sure that anybody that's fit to find himself or herself within the 4 walls of a classroom is a trained and a professional teacher. That we have been trying to do. While we are doing that, what are those things on the part of the government and the education managers to make these persons to put in their optimum? I go to the local levels today. Sometimes we sit down in our aircon offices in the urban areas and we think that all is well. I have, in fact, NUT recently took up a survey and in a locality in a particular city, I wouldn't want to mention the name. What we discovered was that there are schools in this country today where you find 1, 2, 3 teachers at most in the school. You find a head teacher and maybe 1 other teacher taking care of an entire primary school. Talking less of even the environment they find themselves in localities that are literally shut out from the entire world. No good road, no electricity, no pipe-borne water, not even the internet connectivity. Yet they have decided to sacrifice to ensure that the future of the children, our own children, are molded in such a way that they become something else in the future. What is the reward given back to these teachers?
Okay.
Nigeria is missing a lot.
All right.
So this year's World Teachers Day theme means a lot. Right. Allow the voices of the teachers to be heard. Let them be placed at their right place, where they could be given enough encouragement to do their best for society.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Clinton, for your contribution there. You have spoken so much, which I would have loved the Honorable Minister to react, to respond to some of the issues that you have raised. But there is still one particular guest that we have not actually, that has not actually spoken. Maybe we should just call on the Commissioner for Education in Kogi State, that is Wemi Jones, to speak on some of these issues before we call on the minister or to also to respond? Because Dr. Clinton here says, teachers need to be, heard, especially when policies are being formulated. They're not only supposed to be implementers of policies, but they should be involved when these policies are being formulated. Secondly, just like Chief Onoja said, you find out that in those days when we were in school, it is only the best of the best that they retain in schools to teach in the universities, in secondary schools, and so on. But these days, you find out that, those who are scoring the lowest most times are the ones that they are pushed into the teaching profession. How do we begin to rebrand, the teaching profession to make it more attractive, and more valuable to people?
Thank you very much. Greetings to the Honorable Minister and my father, Mr. Roger. Back in the days, you have said earlier.
Well, we seem to be having some maybe a network issue with that.
Yeah,
so maybe we just go straight to the Minister, Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Mama. Let me throw that question to you, sir. The issue of giving teachers a voice. Okay, the commissioner is back. Okay, let's just go to the minister now. The issue of giving teachers a voice, involving them in policy, decision, in policy making decision concerning the teaching profession, not just pushing them on the sideline and just for them to just come and implement policies. Just like you said that a new curriculum will be rolled out at this time. How are you involving the teachers in most of these policies that government is churning out? And in what way is government rebranding the teaching profession to make it more valuable, more attractive to quality, would I say graduates now, to be able to go into the profession? We seem to be having some challenges there. Okay. Well, let's come back to Chief Onoja. You said, I want to throw that question to you. In what way can we rebrand
the teaching
profession?
We must make, teachers, education is the only key to development.
Yeah.
No country develops without quality teachers and quality education. We must get education right by getting the right people to do the job. Unfortunately, I said, and my colleagues countered, those who are going into the profession today are raised a major issue. Should somebody who scored 25% in an examination be the ones that want to go to a teacher training institution, and then you expect them to come out as teachers tomorrow? Because teaching is not paying enough, because government is not paying enough attention to education, quality people and people with knowledge are not interested into going into the profession. Education is teachers are being demarketed by the quality of people going into teaching. We must get that right, that the best people should be the ones who go into teaching. And of course, they should earn the best. If you pay teacher, the salary you pay people who work in the central bank, or those who work in the NNPC, or those who are there, everyone would want to go and be a teacher. What we need for our country to develop is the teacher should be treated properly, teachers should be paid what they deserve. There are countries in this world. In Switzerland, the annual salary of a primary school teacher is $110,000. Teachers should be able to take care of himself. In the history of this country, and I want to go back to history, 1960, 64 years. In 64 years, only 4 teachers have been ministers of education. 4. Those who had the opportunity of teaching in the primary school and in the secondary school and became minister of education. The first minister of education in Nigeria was Ajan Nwachukwu. He wasn't a teacher. He was appointed as a minister in 1958. But when the colonialists knew that he didn't have, a background in teaching and education, the principal of King's College at that time, Mr. J. R. Bolton, was appointed federal advisor on education. And he saw education through. Then, when Ike Briggs became Minister of Education, then AYAK and all that, the list goes on. It was only when Babs Fafunwa became Minister of Education. He was the first teacher to be Minister of Education. And I'm not talking about ministers of state. I'm talking about Minister of Education. After that, he left. Then Professor Imoge was Minister of Education for 6 months. And then, after Professor Imoge, came Professor Rukiat, who was a teacher from a lower level to university and all that. And then the 4th teacher to be Minister of Education was my friend, the former governor of Kano State, Shekarau. I refer to him as injury time Minister of Education. He was an ANCOPS president. And then in the dying days of the Jonathan administration, he became minister. But that is not to say that there are people who mean well for education that are not in this system. One of the ministers who have made so much for education is the present Minister of Education. A professor of education is a man of great learning, there's no doubt that people were dedicated to it. But so much rot had taken place before now, and we need to correct it. One of the ways we must correct quality education in Nigeria is to make sure that the right people go into teaching.
All right.
And the right people going to teaching is that they should be encouraged, materially and otherwise, so that teaching can be seen as a profession that can attract the best.
Thank you very much, Chief Onoja, because the minister is ready now. So maybe we just bring in the minister once again to respond to some of these issues that we are talking about, that is giving the teachers a voice, to participate in the policies that actually affect them, not that they are just implementors of all these policies. And the need for us to rebrand the teaching profession for it to be able to attract the best in the society. And also, want to find out, because you said earlier that, new curriculum will be rolled out at this new season. So how involved are the teachers in all this?
Well, once more, you see, we are not here to counter any view stated here. And honestly, everything that has been said so far, things which I agree with entirely. As a teacher, when you are alien to any policy, or when a policy is alien to the problem with buy-in, lack of buy-in, lack of knowledge of around you. But so far, what we have done in history is to go through a whole range of consultative process. Yes.
Well, we want to sincerely apologize for that. We were having some technical issues, and we just have to sign off now because we are just being informed by the director that there is a live program that is coming up now, and we would like to join the
swearing in of local government chairman in Jigawa.
In Jigawa State. So we'll come to the live transmission now. Thank you.